Hola, hola, and buenos dias, G&Gs. My name is Trekk 2Ks, and this is Weekend Crypto, brought to you here on the Gentleman of Crypto YouTube channel. And so if you don't know, the basic idea is I cover the weekend news that happens between Friday and Sunday, and we record and then play it out for you Monday morning. Because believe it or not, things do actually happen on the weekend in this crypto space. Some of it might be just BS fluff news. It'd be some real things that be announced, like dead ass. So let's jump into these stories. Oh, before I do that, let me just say thank you for the folks who are still tapping in. Thank you for the folks who are not letting this be a bear market thing of like, I'm done with cryptos because I ain't making no more money. But the folks who still want to be informed and be aware of what's going on in this space and how it will possibly have some impact on how you move in this space going forward. So again, thank you for the folks who are tapping in. Thank you for the folks with the thumbs up, the thumbs down, the comments, the no comments, especially the troller folks, the lurkers. I appreciate y'all. Why? Because at the end of the day, when we look at the numbers, comment or, thumb up or thumb down thing. Also, thanks for the folks who are sharing. Really, really thank y'all because y'all do help us with the channel on that one. All right, so let's jump into these stories here and bam, here we go. So, all right. First story, Alameda Research happy to repay Voyager loan in its first ever tweet. Now, this threw me off when I first seen the story. This came out on the 9th, which was yesterday. I think the actual tweet itself was on Friday. And basically, if you don't know who Alameda Research is the investment arm of Sam Bankman-Friedman crypto empire that is like the offshoot of the FTX side of things. Now, I'm actually kind of surprised that like they had the account and then they haven't been doing any kind of Twitter posting about it, but apparently this was the first thing that was done. How I read this though is it's confusing in the way that this article is put together about what's going on with how they are connected in regards to Sam Bankman-Friedman and then the two different entities under Alameda, right? So I'm going to get into this highlighted section right here, which goes, FCX CEO Sam Bankman-Friedman has a complicated relationship with Voyager. He owns share in the company along with Alameda Ventures Limited and Alameda Research Ventures LLC, according to Voyager's recent Chapter 11 bankruptcy filing. So once they went and said, hey, we got to follow Chapter 11 and go public about things, that's part of what they had to put inside the record. So somebody went through and like read the stuff, right? Now, here's why this is the issue that I have with it. It's the same thing that I was saying about what we see happening with this whole contagion thing that we're calling the crypto contagion is that the money was being mixed around on the back end. And with the money being mixed around on the back end, you have situations like this. Now, here's the key part, right? There's a tweet that CZ does of Binance. Like CZ, he on that level too, right? The thing that gets it is if CZ's like, wait, how are you in three different entities connected to the same organization that you're lending money to? What's going on here? Now, if somebody on that level has a question mark, what do you think those of us at the regular everyday retail level should have about this? I'm not telling you what to do. This is not financial advice. I'm just some guy on the internet who happens to pay attention to weekend news related to crypto. But I'm just saying, Sam FTX, the whole Alameda connection thing, we're going to see how this play out later on in this decade because you can almost guarantee it might be cool for the next 24 months, but something gonna come up and out about this probably by 2025. I don't know. I make no promises. Anywho, I'm gonna have the link for all of this stuff on the Twitter side of it. So if you are interested, just hit me up on Twitter. I'll send you all the links for the stuff. Anyhow, jumping on to this next thing. Oh, you know what? Last point I want to make on this. At the end of the day, like I don't deny that FTX's biz dev team are like on fire. Like they the A-list squad are doing what they do. But on the other side of like, hey, the morals or the ethos of the whole crypto space thing, I'm not a fan of it. Not saying they ain't business shrewd and savvy, but on the other side of like what I remember this whole cypherpunk thing about, I'm not a fan of it. But that don't mean you got to be on my boat. You could be how you want to be in this space, right? You move how you want to move. Now, jumping into this next story. Bang. Russia's biggest bank executes the first digital asset transaction on its blockchain platform. Now, this caught my attention because of this new aggregator service I use to find out about news, right? What I thought was interesting was that none of the mainstream Western or news things covered this, like at all. even when you search this, and I'll be honest, I wasn't using a VPN on this particular laptop when I was searching it. I couldn't just find it off of saying Serber Bank blockchain transaction because when I actually did like kind of finagle down the search term, it brought me to the article from last year on CoinDesk, not the joint that just happened this week. Okay. Sorry, I don't know what's going on with the voice right now. Bottom line is the most two important part of this is literally just the quick take and like the first two lines or so. So Bank has conducted the first digital finance asset transaction on its own blockchain-based platform. The bank says the platform has good prospects given its speed and other benefits. Bank is the largest bank in Russia, and it's majority owned by the government. And then basically saying the same thing, they conducted their own thing. Here's the clincher. Here is the clincher. If you look at the original CoinDesk article from last year, they were trying to figure out what they were possibly going to use. And then it turns out that they ended up, well, no, I actually don't know what they ended up with. Back then, the speculation was it going to be a hyperledger kind of thing, right? So technically, it's not really a full blockchain in the sense of what we understand, like an Ethereum or a Bitcoin or like arguably Avalanche, really arguably Solana, but whatever. Nonetheless, they have something, but we're not going to say it's an open source type of blockchain. This is permission based. It is only on the banker side of it. And so what I also want to put in context about this, earlier this year, before the whole, Ukraine thing popped off, there was a lot of legislation and talk going on in Russia with their central bank and their regular like retail consumer level banks about, hey, how do we test out this blockchain thing? And then their regulators going, well, we need to start putting in the implementations now. So for everybody who was out here talking crazy about Russia hates crypto or blockchain and blah, 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 like, nah, dog, like they were doing the work literally from before January, literally. But no one was putting it in that context of, oh, they're working towards something, which then if you add into how the sanction game played out, they was moving 10 steps ahead, like dead ass. They was really moving 10 steps ahead because I'm really curious to see how this plays out come the end of the year because I covered it before. They had, let me jump in on close up. They had already put in the legislation, and I think it's Bank who has the legal framework for being able to do stable coins connected to resources like natural resources. Nonetheless, y'all, I'm telling y'all, it's not what y'all think for the way it's being framed here in the state. It's not what y'all think. I'm gonna push on to the next story, right? Can't beat on the horse all day. So Binance gets its virtual asset service provider license from Spain's central bank. And as I said, like CZ's on that level, FTX is on that level, Sam Bankman-Fried on that level. So like I said, if CZ's like kind of scratching his head, what do you think the rest of us should do? Not telling y'all what to do though. This ain't financial advice. But nonetheless, as far as this situation right here, right, people will compare like Coinbase to Binance and it's like, nah, they're not on the same level. Like Coinbase over here playing in like this American pond pool thing. Like, meanwhile, Binance over there playing in like the ocean or the Olympic size, pool, because they moving on a global scale of things and they running around Africa, they running around Latin America, they running around Europe. This is actually the third license that they secured in Europe. They already did France and Italy. And they bring that up in this article. The bottom line is it's going to allow them to be able to offer crypto asset exchange and custody services. And it helps them bolster up their whole thing about AML and CTF rules, which is like basically financial compliance stuff. And bottom line, they making moves. They're bolstering the business outside of the US because they see for what they're tracking, the money is there for them. They just got to make sure they get the right, the right regulation tap-ins. And so far, it looked like they doing it. Right? It's nothing much really else in this article. Oh, what was the other thing? Yeah, like I said, France and Italy were the other two countries that they already locked in on. So Spain is just the third one. And those are major markets. So it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of this decade play out for them and what they're doing on this global scale. Jumping into this next story. Oh, you know what? I didn't even go through all of this one. I am sorry about that. I was busy with the other ones. I'll just have that one in the link on this side. So I'm gonna jump to this story here. Justin's son is basically like, yo, I got deep pockets too. Who's a distressed crypto company? Come talk to me. I'm here. I got bank. For as long as this dude has been in the space and for how it seems like he's operating, we all get at this point, it's not his money. Now, I don't know enough of the details to be like whose money it actually is. I just know it's not his money. But nonetheless, his operation of what he's looking to do seems to be the same as what Sam Bankman-Friedman is doing. Hey, I got bank. Y'all having issues. I got the money to help you out. But obviously, these things come with strings. So he's basically saying, I can help out the space. And arguably, like, this is kind of a good thing as far as like at that B2B level of like community policing, where it's not, let's get the people who put in on our platforms money to go bail out another company. Like, no, that's not what's going on here. Granted, this is like private level investor money on the back end. And then it does turn into that, like how things are, again, being intermingled. Like, I guess that's just us in human nature, right? Between greed, between like, hey, let's figure out how we can connect and how we mix the money together. And then here we are. Justin Sun's like, yo, I got 5 bands, capital B all the way. Who needs help? I got you. Now, is it going to come with strings? Hell yeah, it's going to come with strings. But depending on how bad the company is and like in their financial situation, they're gonna run for it. Again, in this article, I don't know what it is about the way that the block writes, but they don't write nothing long. Like their joints be dumb short. Like I think this is like under 1,200 words easy. Nonetheless, the two quick takes is a highlight of the whole thing. The Sun told the block that Tron is engaging an investment bank to advise on potential deals. So like I said, like, and arguably, he's working to be the middleman in the situation. So look at that. I am a skeptic, though, because look what happened to Steemit. I'm just saying, look what happened to Steemit. For those of you who go that far back to remember, just saying. Jumping into this last story right here. So basically, CZ does what he does in regards to polling out on the community when, you know, they make certain types of moves that would relate to more of the community engagement sentiment. Like, obviously, they ain't say to the community, hey, do you want us to get a license out in Spain and Italy? No, that's biz dev stuff. But as far as this side stuff right here, he had put out a tweet that was like, hey, what do y'all think about keeping this whole no like zero fee thing? Which is funny because this then goes to what's his name? Jack from Strike has been saying about like the business model of being the gate guard charging fees on Bitcoin transactions. It isn't sustainable. And I wonder if that was the test out for this and how Binance is looking to move, which then brings to the question, if Binance made this type of move, and granted it is limited for the crypto that they're doing it with right now, how long before other exchanges start doing this? And it's funny because like this was being tested out in like the 2018-19 period. I used to write for an exchange that was looking to do the same thing, but like their way of doing it was kind of questionable. And once I started asking questions on the AMA, then all of a sudden my work assignments started drying up. But whatever, that's the past history, right? Anywho, so my point being in this whole thing right now is Binance is making moves that are on the like a two-tier thing. We're doing these international, these like geopolitical level things because now they also doing consulting in countries. I think it's Kurdistan's consultant for how they're moving in the mining sector of the space, right? They got these new licenses, and then at the like the regular everyday community level, they do his team for community development and like customer acquisition. I'm gonna say he got a good team who's advising him on how to engage with the community, and this has been very effective so far. I mean, at this point, like I kind of know a marketing campaign and like development project when I see it. CZ's team, they a bang up team, like they doing what they got to do to make the company grow and arguably bring in the expansion of blockchain and crypto technology and use cases to the larger global world, right? Because at the end of the day, this whole thing is about like getting mainstream adoption. And this is one of the ways that it happens. Basically, stop charging for trading fees and then more people will get onto it. So I'm gonna close it out on this last line right here, which was, yeah, it's easier to then be able to trade, but then it also makes things like, wash trading is a problem and some other things. And then it also brings into question, like, what's the point of being like in tier categories? People don't necessarily understand how like when they do things like if you pay extra on this and then you're in this special club, that literally only means that they just needed to run another stream of revenue off of the captured end user. And then that particular revenue model can only work for so long depending on how the bigger market overall moves. The bigger market overall is going to move in the direction, at least in my point of view, and I'm not a trader, but I've been around for a bit and I've seen some things, is going to end up moving in the zero fee transactions. So if enough of the industry is doing it and then that becomes a new industry standard, all the things that you had based off of that as revenue models, you then have to switch out. And that's what's happening right here. Or that's about to be what's happening, because it seems like they're pushing forward with this on Binance. But anywho, that's the last thing. The other thing I'm gonna end up just throwing inside the Twitter post when this post is today, well, that being today on Monday, close it out on that. There's a number of other things that happen, but what I noticed in this weekend, aside from like things like this, a lot of it was more so like fluff price talk stuff or like analysis views, not necessarily like, hey, this company made this announcement, this company made this partnership, this new version or upgrade of blah, blah, blah happened. So this is what I'm covering as far as what I have run through. And I'm telling you, like, if you could see my screen right now for what happened in the last like 3 hours, it's at least 20, 25 different things. Majority of them is like kind of fluff stories. But anywho, I'm Trek with 2Ks. This is the Weekend Crypto brought to you here on, oh, let me get close on that. Sorry. Again, I'm Trek with 2Ks. This is Weekend Crypto brought to you here on the Gentleman of Crypto. And yeah, that's all I got for y'all. Have a good week, man. One.